What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com, and today we are looking ahead to the bets for the weekend as there's a massive UFC 290 coming up. PFL have their second European card of the year as well. I'll have a full preview out for that with some betting picks in that as well. But I have one pick from that for you here for the betting show and four big picks from UFC 290. It's an interesting one. There's a lot of close fights. Two rematches as well. Maybe there's more than two. There's at least two rematches. Actually, there was supposed to be three. One from the PFL fell out, and I think they're always interesting because I was thinking of one pick. I went back and watched the rematch for one, and I'm like, wait, you know what? I think I'm actually picking a different pick here. So I think we have got a good look with that, and I think it's helpful. It is helpful for the betting picks. A massive title fight in the main event and in the co-main event in the UFC. So when those happen, there's always excitement and there's always a lot of thoughts. So let me know in the comment section below, what's your bet for this weekend? Let me know. Volkanovski, Rodriguez, what's your bet for that? And let me know for Pantoja versus Moreno as well. And if you're tuning in for the PFL Europe, let me know in that as well who you're picking. I'm always interested to see if there's any maybe inside information. Maybe we have people tuning in from Germany or somewhere in Central Europe or in the UK, and with one of these fighters on that, and maybe they'd have a little bit more insight. So let the people in the comments section know, and we'll have a bit of a chat there, and we'll get the talking going. Let's get the talking going on this show by looking back at last week's picks, and they were pretty good. They were pretty good. The Flier hits again, and it's what a run it's been. What an absolute run. I think this is 6 out of 8 and one no contest in the middle, so 6 out of 7 really. Unbelievable. Acoidan wins by submission plus 650, and it happened, what was it, 55 seconds I think, if I'm not mistaken, against Kevin Lee. It happened exactly as I predicted it happened, but like in a completely different way. I predicted that he would have to wrestle. He would wrestle too quickly and get caught in a submission, which is exactly what happened. The only difference is he got knocked down heavily just before that. So that really helped with them, forcing him to kind of panic wrestle, because it was like the right thing to do. He had to do it. Ended up getting caught in the guillotine and submitted. And I was like, I was kind of caught up in the fight, and I kind of forgot about the bet. And then someone tweeted me, I was like, oh yeah, this is the bet for the week. So I was absolutely delighted with that. Plus 650. What a great pick, I suppose, there by me. All credit, pats in the back to me. But I honestly, the Oliveira one, I was never as sure as about. This one, I was pretty confident, but I just thought the minute this ended, I was like, anyone who saw that Diego Sanchez fight was like, yeah, that's Kevin Lee. Like, is he UFC quality at this stage? He's back in the UFC, but not in that showing anyway. 2 of 4 on the normal bets. Abbas Magomedov, it would look good for a round, but not so good after that. That was I think UFC jitters played a big part in that, to be honest. Plus, he was just unable to hold up with Strickland. What I said last week, my pick being based on Magomedov being able to live with the experience, was just completely wrong. That was a terrible bit of analysis by me. That was a big part of him not being able to do that. So that was a bad pick by me. And the Matthew Bonner pick, I'd say that was also a bad pick, to be honest, because I thought he'd win by wrestling. He actually lost by wrestling, but it was a great performance from Darren Stewart. Fair play to him, but yeah, that was not a great pick by me. The other bets that came off were very good. Damir and Dawson to go to the distance. It did, although I think Dawson probably should have finished it, if we're being honest, but that was a good bet, minus 180. And in the Milad Hadi round 1 KO. Now, I was looking for the betting for this. I was waiting for it to come out all weekend, so I didn't even post it, but the betting for round 1 didn't come out, right? But the betting for just the KO straight up was plus 175. So if you bet him, we'll take that. We'll take plus 175 and won't get greedy here on the record. So that was a pretty good bet. He destroyed him in seconds. And I always knew he was going to. So that's a very good bet there, and we'll be happy with that pick. So let's go and look ahead to next week's picks. And I'm going to start off with the rematch that I mentioned, and this first one is going to be the rematch between Alonzo Menifield and Jimmy Crute. And I went back and I watched it literally about 10 minutes ago here. When I kind of had my other bits picked, and I was like, how am I going to go for on that one? And I'm going with Menifield. It almost pains me to say it here. I'm minus 105 for Menifield to win that one. He is the favourite. I think it's minus 125 for his opponent. And look, I'll give you the reason why I'm going for it. Having watched back that fight, and it was a draw if people don't remember it. There was the first round, Crute was doing well and he was getting the takedowns, but then big shots knocked down a few times. The second round, Menifield kind of pushed him against the cage and was winning the fight that way, and then it was a 10-8. In the third round for Crute, it ended up being a draw. But I think Crute fought about as well, not as well as he can, but like everything that he needed to go for him almost did go for him in that, apart from getting hit with a big shot a couple of times, right? He got the early takedowns. He got multiple early takedowns. He took away a bit of the cardio of Menifield. Now, that did work for him late. And then he got like a really great late finish as well when he was arguably behind, right? So a lot of things went right for him there. Could you say the same for Menifield? Like, he didn't want to be taken down early. He didn't want to half gas out in the third round and lose it 10-8. Like, and I suppose that's a bit of easy analysis. But my analysis of that fight also is like, what are the changes going to be coming into this fight, right? And here's maybe where we get a little bit of nuance for what my pick is, because like, what does Crute really need to change, right? Be a little bit more defensive and don't get hit with big shots, but he wants to take him down early like he did, take the cardio out of him like he did, and finish strong, right? So there isn't too much to change really there. But for Menifield, I think there's more clearer things that he needs to do. He needs to be more, I suppose, cute, as we'd say here in Ireland, on the feet. He can't get caught up in takedowns as easy as before. He needs to pick his shots. He knows he has the power to hurt him, and he's probably the power to knock him out. So do that. Spend your 3 rounds trying to land the 1-2. The knockout blow, but don't do it in a way that's going to gas you out or that's going to allow you to be taken down by him, right? Now, that's a very much an easier thing said than done. But also, if you're looking at things you need to do, saying that might be a good thing to say, And I feel like he has the ability to do that as well. Not only does he have the ability to do that, I think Crute is the type of guy who is, he's not been knocked out that many times in his career, don't get me wrong, but he was knocked out by Jamal Hill in 48 seconds before that. He was almost knocked out in that fight, and then it was a doctor stoppage by Anthony Smith in the fight before that. So he'd never been knocked out until the last 3 fights, and like he got knocked out once, doctor stoppage once, and almost knocked out a third time. Whereas I think Menifield, he's obviously got a good few knockouts in his career as well, and had won his last 2 by knockout before that against Serkinov and Askar Mazarov, although that wasn't much of a challenge. But I just think if Menifield is in any way smart about this, he will pick his shots early, land that big power shot, and put Crute out of there. Put him out of there. And even like if he does get taken down, do what he did the last day, get back up, and then go to that game plan again of being a little bit cuter. And this is not me pie in the sky either. He's been able to do this before. He's done this to other people, So that's the pick. That's first of all simple enough. That's my first pick. I'm going with Alonzo Menifield to get the win, and we'll see how it goes. Right, second pick. I'm going to go for the PFL pick here, first of all, and I'm going to go with Aleksanders Chizovs Alexander Chizovs, whose name I pronounce brilliantly, and he is minus 105 in the betting at the moment to beat Acoidan Duque, whose name I also pronounce very, very well there. But watched, obviously, doing the preview for this and watched a good bit of their fights coming in, as much as I could find. And I think this line, as I mentioned in my preview, it's a little bit backwards. And we'll go through the other lines as well on this when we get it. Minus 125 for Pay. And for Alex, it's minus 105. So very, very close on the betting. But I'm going to go with the underdog, who's at minus 105. And it's pretty simple, the reason I'm going for him. And it's his ability to strike, but his improving takedown defense and his ability to reverse. So Duque is a very good wrestler. No interest in striking. Barrels in. And when I say very good wrestler, when he can wrestle you, when he can get on top, he's very good on top. But if you are smart and if you have the ability to use your footwork and strike well, and you have power striking to make your opponent think about it, I think you can beat a guy like that. And that's the reason I'm basically picking Alex. Like, he's a power striker. He's lovely shots to the body, which I always feel like are good shots against wrestlers as well. Improving takedown defense. And when he gets on top, he's very good. And I mentioned the word reversal before. His sweeps are so good. He sweeps lads, gets on top, and then he lands big ground and pound. We know wrestlers, they don't like to be, on the bottom with guys landing ground and pound against him. They just absolutely don't like that. And I feel like that's something that Alex can do in this fight. What he's really good at as well is refusing to back up from the pocket. And what I mean by that is, like, I wouldn't call him necessarily a pocket fighter. I wouldn't necessarily call him a pressure fighter either. But what he's very good at is forcing you to not fight where you want to fight. So if you want to pressure him, he won't allow you to do that. And then he will stay in that area for long enough until you go backwards. And when you go backwards, he'll go forwards, but not necessarily with a pressure, but just very good cage cutting and very good control. Like controlled pressure, maybe you would call it. And I said that in the preview show as well, but I really mean, I think it needs to be said. And what he does from there then is the lovely combinations. So if he can stop the takedown, number one, against Duque, if he can stop the forward motion, if he can push him back, he will start to land those combos. And I don't think that fight lasts very long because he's power, big power. As I said again, attacks the body. And if he can consistently do that against a guy like Duque, who is, a good fighter, who has a good record and all of that, I think he can put him down and I think he can put him out of there. So let's see on that one. Let's see how it goes, but I like the odds on that one. I do think Alex will win, and maybe that's one, like if you're betting on the UFC and you want to throw in an extra one for an accumulator or something, maybe that's the one to go to. While we're on the PFL Europe here, let me just run you through some of the other odds on that. I'm a big fan of Francesco Nuzzi. He's minus 275. I like him in that fight against Farbadirán, who's plus 215. Mokhtar Bin Sai is plus 100, minus 130 for Khurshid Kakarov. Do like Kakarov in that one. I think the line is just about right. I think it's a close fight. Franz Mambo is fighting. He's a new opponent. The betting odds, maybe by the time this show comes out, they'll be out for that, but they aren't out as I record. But we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on that in the comment section below. Biggest favourite on the card, I believe, yeah, that's correct, is rightfully Ali Taleb. Very well-rounded fighter. If you don't know this guy, keep an eye on him. Very good. I think he's 8-0. Good fighter. He's fighting Kenji Bortoluzzi, and I think he'll almost certainly win that. Conor Hughes, Dylan Duque. If you're looking for a bit of a flyer and a bit of an outsider here, if Dylan Duque shows up and Dylan Duque fights at his best, he can beat Conor Hughes. Now, Conor Hughes is the favourite, and he's rightfully so the favourite. Duque hasn't had a good last few years, but I believe everything is kind of back on track with him. He's at a new gym in a new country, and the word is that he's looking good. So plus 375 if you like that there. But Conor Hughes is also looking good. There's no denying that. I think that's going to be a fun fight. I think the betting is a bit wide. I'd probably go to maybe plus minus 350, plus 250 or something like that, or a little bit higher. But yeah, I like that fight a lot. I like the favorite Jakub Kazuba, minus 180 plus 150 over Maxim Radu. Christina Bauer and Annabelle Honert, minus 400 plus 300 in that one. Christina is obviously the favorite. John Mitchell is a big favorite, minus 240 over the plus 190 Jassim Derouche. I like John Mitchell in that one. All right, he's obviously Irish as well, so maybe a little bit of bias there, but he's a very good fighter, can hit hard, can wrestle as well, and you know, I like him in that one. You know, his opponent is a good fighter, very good cardio, and a good athlete as well. I think the Mitchell takedown might win him that one. Grete Cote is fighting a 3-0 favourite in minus 185, Lorena Cubero. Haven't seen too much of her, but she does look like a good fighter. Grete a little bit exposed, whereas Cubero isn't. So I would definitely take a pass on that one. I like Zafar Mohsen, who's minus 280 over Anatoly Bal. And obviously the last fight is my better to be Alex Chizovs, who is minus 105 over Acoidan Duque. So yeah, that's the PFL betting for the week, and that is my my second bet. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about my third bet of the week, and that's going to be the champ, Brandon Moreno. I'm going for him over Alexandre Pantoja. And I went back and I watched their UFC fight, not the tough fight, and I was talking to my colleague Graham McDonald about it from over in Severe MMA, and he went back and watched it too, and he said to me, you can kind of write that one off. And you know what, I think he might be right in terms of this fight. But what I think it really shows, and I've done this with fighters before, right, who have gone from being good fighters or middle of the road fighters to being the top fighters in the world. Poirier is a brilliant example of this, right? Go back and watch an old one of his fights, the Akira Kurosani fight, who I mentioned earlier on there, I think. Go back and watch him, or I mentioned the PFL preview maybe actually. Watch his early fights, and then watch his fights now. Completely higher class, way better fighter. That's what you look at and you see with Moreno when you do that. It's hard to see that between one fight and the next fight and the next fight and the next fight. But if you watch 7 fights ago or 12 fights ago or something like that, it's a lot easier to see it. Now, the difference I think here is my reason when I'm picking him, right? And his ability to control himself. And that is it, right? That is my reason for picking him. His ability to control himself now is there that wasn't there before. And I think Pantoja had that ability to control himself then and still has it now. He's a very good, well-rounded fighter, good Muay Thai, good, you can fight on the ground, good jiu-jitsu, the whole lot, right? But I think Moreno, his ability to control himself will allow him to control the fight. Before, he was kind of just throwing things out there. In that fight, you can see it perfectly. He's throwing like those long kind of reaching shots that are just going to get him countered against someone as technically as good as Pantoja or anyone out there. But you see him against guys like Kai Kara France and that, and he's not doing that. He's not getting caught with those big shots inside. He's not letting him be there, not letting himself to be there to be countered. He's more in control of himself. And that's why I think this is a very winnable fight for him, and he will win it. And that's why I think minus 200. It's minus 200, so it's not the best price in the world. And I actually have a few. I have all minus bets in my 4 bets, which is very unusual. I just noticed there. But I think it's a good price at minus 200 because I don't think Pantoja is going to be like Moreno has the loss to Pantoja to motivate him for this as well. So, usually fighters who come into a fight like this are the ones who have all the motivation, and sometimes you can feel, okay, well, this guy who's the champion, he could lose it a little bit, and, will complacency set in, but that's not going to happen with Moreno. And I think the fact as well, right, you can look at this as a positive and a negative, but take out the Kai Kara France fight, he's been fighting Davidson Figueiredo for the totality of his championship career. 4 fights. It's just so much, and they were brilliant. I wouldn't take him back, absolutely. But for him, it's a welcome change, and it allows him to be something new, but also in a rematch, which he already knows. But I think all the lessons he learned in those fights, he can take it into this and use it in this and be a better fighter. I think I said about kind of the reach and body shots the last time. I think the body shots are going to work well for him here. I think the leg kicks are going to work well for him here. I think the distance battle, I would be surprised if this fight ended in the first 3 rounds. It may be a late finish, but I think this one is going long. I think it's going to a decision. I think it's going to be a more controlled, I keep using the word control, but a more controlled fight from both guys with Moreno running the dance. And I think his ability to run that dance is why he's winning, and that's why I'm picking him. Right. My fourth pick is a lot less complex, I think. And it's Jalin Turner. Like, I think most people are probably saying, look, Sean, we agree with you. We think Jalin Turner is going to win this. Minus 250. I think the minus 250 is such a great price. I really do. I think it's a great price. Now, it might be a great straight up price or whatever if you want to bet on it straight up. And that's absolutely fair enough. I understand that. But I think this is a great accumulator price. A great price. Let's say if you do want to... Let's say you fancy the Pantoja decision or something like that. Or you fancy the Moreno decision and it's coming in at whatever it is. Right? Throw this in as a little double. Throw in a little treble. I like that. Because, like... I think Jalin Turner, who has 13 wins and 13 finishes in his career, against a guy like Dan Hooker, who has lost 12 times, and I think he's been finished 6 times, right? I just, the only thing I see when I look at this fight is him being finished. Like, Jalin Turner went in there last time out, 19 fights into his career, which is a good few fights at this stage, but he went all the way with Chizovs, who not only is a really good fighter, right, but he's faced it all as well over in KSW. He's faced some of the best fighters in the world that people wouldn't even have heard of. Turner went in there, beat Bad Riddell, he beat Jamie Monarchy, he beat Brock Weaver, Josh Kulibau, Uros Medic. He's beaten some very, very, very good fighters. And I like Dan Hooker, right? And I think he's a good fighter, but I think that Claudio Puelles fight is a win over Claudio Puelles because of the ability that Claudio Puelles has. I think Jalin Turner's ability is just too much. And I just think the length is going to be such an issue for him as well. Like, he's 6'3", and Dan Hooker, surprisingly, is 6 foot. He doesn't look that tall. I'm going back and watching a few of his fights. But Dan Hooker has only one gear, and that's go. And if you go against Jalin Turner, you're going to get caught. And I just see the long arms, that left hook type of shot from way out with Hooker coming in is just going to land, and it's going to hit Hooker, and it's going to be big, big issues for Hooker. It really, really is. I think he'll get the knockout here, but I'm going for him straight up. Jalin Turner. I think he's going to have too much. I don't think Hooker's going to be able to knock him out. I don't think he's going to be able to catch him, and I think Turner is going to have his way. So yeah, there you go. That's my pick for that one. Right, the final pick, the flyer of the week, and I'm going for the main event. It's not the biggest flyer in the world here, but we've given you enough big ones over the while, but plus 370 here at the moment. Now that might change. Hopefully you get a little bit bigger, but I'm going for the Volkanovski TKO KO. And the reason I'm going for that is twofold, really. I think Volkanovski will be more attacking in one dimension here than he normally is. And what I mean by that is Volkanovski, I've compared him with Mighty Mouse before. He can fight in every manner and every way, and he usually does that in all these fights. But I think in this one, he will up it in a certain way, whether it's up the pressure and push back Yair Rodriguez, which we'll talk more about in a second, or wrestle more and wrestle and put him on the ground and ground and pound. That's part one. The second part of this is I think Rodriguez will be aggressive, and he knows he has to be aggressive. And I think, like, I'm not picking a round 1, round 2 knockout here when I go for the TKO KO. I'm thinking like round 4, round 5. And I think Rodriguez, even though he's got late knockouts before, Volkanovski's way more used to that pace. And the shots, I think, will add up from Volkanovski, and the pace that Rodriguez, I think, will fight at, or not even the pace, not even the cadence either, the amount, the variety, the amount of shots he'll throw will be so taxing that I think by the time the fourth and fifth comes, the amount of energy he has expanded with the amount of damage he has taken will add up to bad things. I really do. If he can't get the finish. Now, maybe he can get the finish. Maybe he can, you know. Would I be the most shocked person in the world if he did? No. I think he has a real chance here, an absolute chance, but I'm definitely picking Volkanovski. Make no mistake about that. But I just see the fight going that way. Like, I think if Volkanovski fights like he's normal, dominating, really good technical way, it's somewhat leaving himself open against a guy like Rodriguez. And that's why I said one element. I think one element will change and improve and be more dominant. And I think that'll turn it. I think that big left hand from Volkanovski will land a bit. Body punching, I think, might be an issue throughout this card. I think pushing him forward, landing those body shots, I could see him going like 1, 2, 3, 4 to the body, even a big left hand over the top or something like that as well from Volkanovski. I see things like that happening in this, and those things add up and they add up and they add up, and you can just see, right, Yair comes out and he throws the 4th round, he's throwing this big kick, and next thing, boom, double leg takedown. Volkanovski gets into the mount and he's ground and pounded out. That's the sort of finish I envisage here, and a plus 370, I think it's a nice flyer. So, yeah, those are your 5 bets. Let's run through some of the prices here. So we are looking at Denise Gomez. Yasmin is minus 400. Denise plus 300. I love this Price Lawler fight. Nico Price is a big favourite there, minus 250 plus 200 for Robbie Lawler. Look, at this stage of the career, you'd have to go for Nico Price, but I'm just looking at a fun fight there, really, and I think it will be very good. The Menifield betting is minus 105, as I mentioned earlier, minus 115 for Crute. Marcin Prachniow is plus 220 over Victor Perino, minus 275. You know, Prachniow sometimes, you know, maybe plus 220, you never know with that one. Aguilar against Ross is relatively close. Aguilar minus 175 plus 145 for Ross. Esteban Ribkovic minus 200 for Camila Kirk plus 160. Again, close enough. Do you know what? I'll throw Kirk in there. I'll go for Kirk in that. And then the main card, you can't bet in Bo Nickel. He's just too big of a price. Minus 1400 or thereabouts. Plus 700-ish. Plus 775 I see for Trishan Gore here in one place. Look, Gore's not winning the fight. You can't bet on Nickel, so there's no point even looking at that one. We talked about Jalin Turner Hooker. Look, I was looking at Duplessis versus Whitaker as one of my bets. I'm very much unsure about how Whitaker's going to win while being sure that Whitaker's going to win type of thing. I'm like, will he finish him? Will it go to a decision? Not too sure. Look, minus 400 is a price. And again, I have lots of accumulators for this week. Throw him into an accumulator. I do think he will win. I like the Whitaker, Moreno, Volkanovski treble in there. I think I can see how much that is. Hold on. We'll find out here now very quickly how much that treble comes to. So I'm looking at minus 450 for Volkanovski. Minus 200 for Moreno and minus 400 for Whitaker. That's plus 129 of a parlay. So if you like that treble, plus 129, it's not massive, is it? It's not massive. Maybe, do you know what? I'm going to back out on that one. Let's not go over that one. But the Pantoja Moreno fight, as I mentioned, is straight up minus 200 plus 163. I didn't mention it back when I gave Moreno, but I think that's way too close. Way too close. I think he should be minus 300. I think he should be that at least. I think that's very, very much based on the last fight, and you can base very little off of that last fight, I think so. And in the main event, minus 450 for Volkanovski, straight up plus 333 for Rodriguez. Fight to go to decision, minus
166. I was looking at the fight doesn't go to decision. Plus 124 is one of my straight up bets. I like that price. Plus 124. Volkanovski, plus 370 for the finish. Plus 600 for the TKO for his opponent. No, sorry, plus 370 for the knockout. For the finish itself, is it here? Him to win, Volkanovski win by decision, minus 125. Him to win inside the distance, I don't see it here at the moment, but yeah, those are it's not here at the moment, but yeah, those are interesting. Will there be a submission here? I don't think so. Plus 1300 for Rodriguez, even though he did submit Emmett. I could see Volkanovski maybe getting a submission, but I don't think so. Plus 1300 as well. So let's see on that one. All right, we leave it there, everyone. Recap quickly my bets again. Alonzo Menifield, minus 105. Chizovs over in PFL, minus 105 as well. Minus 200 for Brandon Moreno, minus 250 for Jalin Turner. And in the flyer of the week at plus 370, Aleksandr Volkanovski wins by TKO KO in the main event. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your bet in the comment section below. We'll leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com. And we'll see you all next time.